Welcome to another episode of Love Living Local 315. We are your hosts, Scott and Kelly Greats, and today we are excited to have Vincent Scalise join us. He's a Utica native, decorated veteran. Thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
And the founder and executive director of the Utica Center for Development. After serving 24 years in the military, including deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan, Vincent returned home with a mission to support veterans, families, and underserved communities across central New York. What a mission that is. We're going to call you Vinny going forward. No more Vincent talk. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, let's talk about Utica. I mean, you were born and raised here. Obviously, you've seen the world.
Yeah.
You've got roots here. You chose to come back. What's so special about central New York and Utica particularly?
Oh, there's a lot. I mean, one, obviously, I have family here and friends here. You know, you always want to stay close to family. But I love living in the middle of the state because, you know, if I want to go up to the Adirondacks, I jump in my car, 30 minutes, I'm fishing, hunting, skiing, whatever. I want to go to the city. I want to catch, NFL, NBA, whatever. It's all close.
Sure.
It's within driving distance.
Yep.
That's one of, I think, the benefits of living in central New York, especially in Utica. You jump on the thruway in 5 minutes and you're anywhere you want to be within hours. And that's really a focal point I like about Utica and central New York is that we have everything. You have the quiet city life, but you also have the seclusion of the Adirondacks. You have countless lakes and forest and mountains to climb. Yeah. There's so much to do. And in all seasons of the year, obviously you have your summer sports, but you have plenty of winter sports to do up there.
And plenty of time in the winter.
Plenty of time to do it, yeah.
Yeah, and winter sports people are very happy this year.
It's been 2 years in a row.
I
Very,
know.
very happy.
So after 24 years in the military, what was the biggest adjustment transitioning back to civilian lifestyle? Like that's a long... Talking in a polite manner and not just like you're talking to another soldier. Okay.
I think that always... took time to adjust. There's different phases. I remember first coming home from Iraq, the biggest adjustment was driving because you're driving all over Iraq for a year, looking for IEDs and roadside bombs and everything that you see a McDonald's bag on the side of the road and you swerved, because you thought it might have been an IED. So that was like a hard adjustment.
I'm sure.
And when you're gone for a long time, like on deployment stuff, the simple things you forgot. Like I remember coming back and I was only home for a couple of days. I went to the ATM. I couldn't remember my PIN number because I hadn't used it in so long. Just simple things like that. There's a lot of adjustment. Yeah. And it is a different lifestyle. I mean, when you're living with guys for long periods of time and rooms half the size of this and there's 4 of you living in it, you develop a very close bond. And you have that friendship and, you always have that support. When you leave the military, a lot of the problems we see with the veterans we serve is, they lose that support when they leave. And that's when, problems start occurring and, they start to spiral. And that's one of the reasons why I started the center. The main purpose was always for veterans, for my fellow veterans. I was lucky enough, I finished out most of my career right here in Utica. In between deployments, I would be stationed right at the Utica Armory on Culver Ave. So I was able to start building it, in between deployments here. But what got me going was guys were coming in to me while I was working at the Armory and having all these problems. And I was like, there's nothing here for veterans. The Rome VA clinic was very small at the time because the wars had just started. And the VA had this formula at the time that the largest population they were serving were World War II vets that were dying off at the time at a rate of 9,000 a day. So they're like, we could downsize the VA. Nobody expected a 20-year war, and millions of veterans coming back from it. So there was a lack of services in central New York. So I didn't want to sit idly by and just complain about it. I thought I'd do something. That's how the vision of the UCD came about.
Huge undertaking, right? Super important, noble, just what did you consider, the challenges, the obstacles, like what this would, or were you just like, we need this, screw it, I'm the guy, I'm going to do it?
I knew there was going to be challenges. I did consider them, but at the same time, I felt very passionate about the mission, so I jumped in, and it wasn't easy. And I started the agency officially in 2008, and I worked tirelessly, to build it. Then I got called out for deployment to Afghanistan. I was gone for a while, and I came back, and the people that I had trusted to keep things going while I was gone, like, almost ran it into the ground, and it was a long fight. I had to rebuild it almost from scratch when I got home. So there was things like that, and always dealing with, the politics of not-for-profits and the government. It takes a lot, but, I don't know. I guess fighting doesn't bother me, to argue. So, I'll do it, So like the most recent project we're working on at the former YWCA, it took us near 5 years to get that under construction. It was uphill battle the whole way, but I stuck to it. My staff stuck with me, and now I just came from there. We're pouring 80 yards of concrete right now. In this beautiful, upstate New York weather.
I think it's like 8 degrees out and snowing. But I'm going to try my best during this conversation to keep my strong opinions on this in check, because I do have strong opinions. I think there's nothing sadder in a world or a country that has so much money and power to have those that served us and made us who we are come back and not have the basic things that you're fighting so hard for them to have, like food and activities and medical treatment. But that's the passion behind the project and why you fight. So it's such a noble fight to fight.
And I think the biggest thing, doing a private not-for-profit, I cut through the governmental red tape. I don't, a lot of people, the VA says you can't, all right, I'm not the VA. Right. So I'll do it. I don't, obviously we're regulated on certain things that we receive money for. Obviously, if the VA, they do fund some of our programs, so we abide by their regulations. But if somebody doesn't qualify per VA standards, we find another way of helping that individual. We just don't cast them aside. Because there is a lot, I always had a big pet peeve with the VA with certain characterizations of discharge, that denies people certain benefits. And you look at it, I always use the example, take the 19-year-old, just got to his first duty assignment, say up at Fort Drum. By the time he's 23, he probably already have 3 deployments under his belt. Probably had possibly a wife and a child when he started. By the time he ended, he doesn't, because, just military life's not conducive to everybody. A lot of relationships break up because of it. So he gets home from a deployment, finds out his wife and kids not there, ends up having a little bit too much to drink, gets pulled over for DWI or gets in an accident, which obviously I'm not condoning DWI, but it happens. All of a sudden now he has a dishonorable discharge because there's 0 tolerance for DWI in the military. Well, you're taking somebody who's only 23, already did like 3 combat tours. Now he can't go to the VA and get the basic benefits he's entitled to because he had, a bad discharge. So we do a lot. We work with like the local congressional offices to do a lot to upgrade discharge and get people the benefits they deserve. I mean, everybody makes mistakes.
Sure.
Yeah.
But, to take away everything you earned over
politicians are really good at second chances when it's about them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So today, the UCD serves about 4,000 veterans annually. Is that accurate?
Yes.
That is huge. And you operate in Utica, Watertown, Oneonta, and Rome.
Correct.
How has that expansion strengthened your impact, and what does that look like over the years? That's huge.
So when we started, it was just literally started at my dining room table with an idea to where now we've extended, just in Utica right now, we have 5 large commercial buildings. 3 or 4 of them are right here in downtown Utica. We have the former YMCA, which is our main building, which we have 18 units of veteran housing on the 3rd and 4th floor. The first floor is mostly all our office space, case management, business office, those things. We save the gym. The gym's open every day, 3:30 to 5:30, open gym, free for the area's youth to use. We have our donation room, food pantry, everything located there. We're currently constructing 20 more units at the former YWCA on Cornelia Street. When completed, not only the 20 units on the 1st and 2nd floor, but we are saving the pool there. So it'll be the only indoor public pool in Utica with a fitness center and everything right there on the ground floor. We have the Westminster Presbyterian Church, which is right next door to the YW, and that's where we have the Better Together Center. Plus, the Utica royalties are there. We have a lot of youth programs and other type programs in there. We have 12 more units of housing in Steuben Park, right by the county building. So we expand in Utica tremendously, and then the need, the VA allowed us to serve other counties. And we were serving them from the Utica office, which was not efficient, So you get a call from Lewis County, Jefferson County, 2 hours just to find the veteran. So we ended up opening an office in Watertown to cover the northern counties, Lewis, St. Lawrence, and Jefferson. We opened up the office in Oneonta to cover Delaware County, Otsego County. And then the Rome office, it was necessary because Oneida County is so big, just to cover the western end of Oneida County and Madison County, we opened the Rome office. And it happened actually at a pretty steady pace, I would say. And it was sometimes I don't even realize it until somebody like you says something
until
about
you just
it.
rattled all
I
that
just rattled off. Now my head's kind of spinning.
This is what we have now, and you're like, holy cow!
My next question was going to be like, what else have you done?
Well, we did just purchase a large commercial building on Bleecker Street, just on the east side of Mohawk. We just took a industrial type building there over because we do a lot of recycling programs to help fund some of our programs. And we just we couldn't do it in our buildings down here because we have office space and residential. So we did move all our industrial type commercial operations down to Bleecker Street now.
So sorry.
The other thing, the Utica Center for Development, which I want everybody to know, we're talking a lot about veterans, but you serve individuals other than veterans.
Yes. Youth,
low-income families, the programs on their website, the things that you have, it's amazing.
Right. So we do have other housing programs that are for non-veterans, but those are limited to the city of Utica. So if somebody's homeless or facing eviction who's not a veteran, they can receive services if it's within the city limits. We do have programs for people with autism and developmental disabilities. And I think a biggest chunk is all the youth programs we have.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Keep saying we. Obviously, you can't do this alone. How big is the team?
Right now, we're about 35 full-timers, and we have a few part-timers, but a lot of volunteers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the bulk of the focus on fundraising? I mean, it has to be, right, to keep the...
It should be.
Okay.
We are not good at it. I'm not gonna,
because,
you got
to be somewhat good at it to have.
Well, we do, like, we have a couple successful fundraisers through the year, but it's more like to make up for funds. Like, I came up with the Close the Home program, where we take all your unwanted clothing. If you could wear it at one time, we don't care the condition, shoes, hats, underwear, whatever, it doesn't matter. We'll take it. We take what's good to give out to people in need. The rest we recycle it. So that's a source of revenue for us. It helps us pay our bills. We're constantly obviously asking for donations and taking donations, but we take everything, not just money. About 10 years ago, I started the Christmas light recycling for us, and people call me, "Are you still taking my old Christmas lights?" Absolutely, we'll take them. We recycle them for the copper wire. I started out, my first fundraiser was collecting bottles and cans to get the doors open, and we still take bottles and cans today. So we do have really the only two big fundraisers we have is our St. Patrick's Day parade fundraiser and our annual motorcycle ride that we do in August. Those are our two big fundraisers. Yeah.
So let's talk about the St. Patrick's Day parade. St. Patrick's Day is one of my most favorite days of the year. My name's Kelly. I'm Irish, obviously. But everybody's Irish on St. Patrick's Day. So why don't you talk a little bit about that fundraiser? Okay,
so our main building is located at the corner of Genesee and Washington. So you have a perfect view of the parade. So March 14th, the parade kicks off at 10. We open right at 8. And we open our doors. We have what we call the Bunker Cafe, which is when you first walk into our building, it's a wide open space. It serves as normally as our entrance point. And it's a very nice spot. And the reason it is, and it serves as our entrance point, is anybody could make a waiting room that looks like the county office building. But when you're dealing with people in crisis, you want to try to keep them as calm as possible. So when you walk into our front door, You'll see a TV, you'll see sofas, you'll see tables, you'll see a coffee bar. And that, if somebody's in crisis, that just walking in calms them.
Yeah.
And then even if they're starting to, freak out a little bit, the receptionist be like, all right, really, have a cup of coffee, sit down, we'll be right with you. And before you know it, starts to turn the tide to calm them down. So it's a big space. So we open that up on St. Patrick's Day for the parade. We'll have grills outside cooking hot dogs and stuff. We do sell alcoholic beverages because it's
St. Patrick's
Day. But, you can stand on the front porch and watch the parade if the weather's conducive. You can stay inside, be nice and warm, watch the parade because you have the big storefront windows there. We have music playing, White Claw, beers, whatever you want, food, and all the money is collected is part of our fundraiser.
Is that open to the public or is
open
that something
open to everybody.
Okay, so
no, we keep it open. We usually get a pretty good turnout. It's thing with the parade, it's weather.
Yeah.
If it's like last year, it was beautiful.
Yep.
We were packed. Most people were on the front porch because it was so nice. But even if it's cold, we'll get a good turnout as long as it's not raining out.
Or snowing.
I'm gonna challenge the people
Hopefully it's done
in Utica
snowing.
here, Central New York. I mean, if you're not weathered and grizzled and ready for anything by March,
and have a couple of claws or beers, and you'll be warm in no time. So yeah.
Well, one year it was snowing out so bad. I remember the plows led the parade, and this was only a few years ago. And then I remember people that were marching the parade were coming in. And their steam was just coming off because they were so wet. It was a heavy, wet snow. And I remember we had Senator Griffo. He comes in because he always stops in every year. And he was sitting there talking to me, and it just looked like he was evaporating because there was so much steam coming off of him. Yep. But yeah, it's a great fundraiser for us.
Okay. Let's talk about the Dr. Mary Webster Wellness Center, revitalizing the former YWCA, which you've talked about, but. What is that center going to mean for the community once it's fully functional?
So first of all, it's taken a part of West Utica that's been dormant, let's say, and it's revitalizing a huge anchor building because that building is huge as it was. Plus, we're putting on an addition to it, so we're making it even larger. So it's going to help us. It's going to help our case managers because it's going to give us 20 more units of housing, both for veterans and people living with serious mental illness. But the ground floor, which had a pool in it, is currently getting refurbished. It will have an indoor pool and a fitness center with locker rooms, showers, everything. That's open to the general public as well. So there's really no open indoor public pools in Utica anymore. I mean, Utica University shut theirs down. I don't even think MVC. I think they shut theirs. Yeah. So they're in. I mean, the city public pools are literally open for 2 months.
Right.
They open at the end of June, they close on Labor Day. So having an indoor year-round pool for the community to use, I think, is huge. And believe it or not, one of the leading cause of youth deaths in this country is drowning because people just don't learn how to swim anymore. So it'd be good to, and it's great exercise. We'll do the aqua aerobics, all that in there. Plus,
very popular.
Extremely. I went and toured the Rome Y, and when Hank Leo was giving me a tour, it was during one of their sessions. I mean, you couldn't move in there, but the pool was just full, for it. But people with autism, swimming is great for them. It's a great calming mechanism. So it's going to bolster our efforts to serve the autistic community. So
let's talk about the Better Together Center. What gap does this fill in the community?
So this fills a gap that was identified by parents that have adult children with either autism or developmental disabilities. There's a lot of great programs out there for the youth, but a lot of them age out at the age 18. So when they're adults, there's not a lot for the direct care providers to do with them. I mean, that's what. And one of the biggest complaints I got from the parents was like when they do send their children to these day programs, basically they spend the day walking around the mall.
Yeah.
Right.
They bring their lunch, they sit down, and that's not doing anything for them.
Yeah.
So it was brought to my attention by a few parents that said we really need to do something for our adult children. So they have a place to go, a place to feel that they belong to, a place for them. It's all inclusive though, so everybody could use it regardless of their age or whatever. But this fills that gap. And so far, since we opened up last month, Everybody that has come through, we've received extremely positive feedback. We're constantly making improvements though, because this is I knew absolutely nothing about this. It was brought to my attention by parents, that have years of experience. Sure. Mm-hmm. So they taught me. So nobody ever did this like this again before. So, we're fine tuning it. We're adding more stuff every day. We take the comments that we get from the participants and their direct care specialist, oh, you should do this. You should do, okay. If we could, we'll do it. So it's growing, but I've been in there when it's been used, and you did the right thing. When I hear the laughter, I hear the camaraderie, even with there's so many individuals that come through that are nonverbal, and you could still tell how much they enjoy it because the smile is from ear to ear, and they don't want to leave. They're so at home there, and they're so comfortable there. It's great.
Well, now that we have a diagnosis, there are so many children. It's a spectrum disorder,
yes.
And so we're seeing this now because we have a diagnosis that children are being diagnosed earlier in age,
yes.
and they're getting the interventions that they need, like you said, when they're in grade school, high school, but then where do they go from there? So this is so exciting that we're offering something like this in Utica.
No, and I'm a big advocate for early intervention at the schools, but when they age...
age out, yeah.
And like a lot of the parents tell me, it's a little... I don't know the word I want to use, but a little demeaning, I guess, just to spend every day walking from one end of the mall to the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it's good exercise for walking, but you're not giving them a sense of belonging. You're not giving these individuals any kind of sense of community.
Yeah.
So here it is. And the way it's set up, if you guys come tour it, we'd love to give you a tour. It's set up with everything. So there's a game room, there's a sensory room, which is, even I like staying in there.
No, I'm sure.
We have the swinging swings, the chair swings that you sit in. It kind of holds you tight. I'll tell you'll sit in there, you won't want to get up. It's such a comfortable feeling, calming effect.
Even as not someone that has, a disorder, the weighted vest, everything. It is just for anxiety in itself. It's just very, very calming.
I tell my case managers when they get a little stressed out with their clients, I go next door.
Yeah.
Sit in the sensory room for a little bit, and they'll come back and they're like, that was right. That was good. I feel better now. Yeah. But there's a lot, but we do it where everything you could touch, everything, nothing's off limits of touching in there. And there's the lighted blocks on the wall. If you touch, they turn different colors, and the floating little fish and the fiber optic curtains hanging down. Yeah. So that's in the sensory room. Yep. We're still, like I said, we're still working. We got to get some beanbag chairs and there's things like that, because that was a suggestion from one of the parents. They're like, we should have some beanbag chairs. So we ordered some,
That's great.
Then there's a sitting room where they could play cards. They could play Monopoly. They could, whatever, there's a TV room where they could watch movies. There's an art space with easels and chairs and art supplies. They could sit there and, make art. There's a game room with real video games. We have is it Mr. Pac-Man or Miss Pac-Man? We got in there. Mr. Pac-Man, yeah. So we have
gender neutral. Pac-Man.
Yeah, we have a Pac-Man, stand-up Pac-Man like the old school. Basketball, pool, individual little cubbies with everything has something different. Whether it's a DVD player, iPad, whatever, and they can put their headphones on and sit there. There's a jukebox.
It's a club, full-blown club.
Yeah. There's trains, fish tanks, a sand table. You could dig through the sand, and we have little objects buried in there. That's a big hit. Everybody likes to dig through that sand.
What's interesting hearing you go through all this is really what you're doing is you've identified some gaps. Mm-hmm. And we see it, unfortunately, with the military. You've seen it. You already talked about the 19-year-old who comes back and at 23, 24 has already lived, a wild life, but has a whole life in front of him or her. Now what? And we talk about kids with disabilities and learning disorders and whatnot. And we tend to focus on them until they're adults, but then what? Mm-hmm. And so what I'm seeing is probably a challenge for you guys, and hearing you talk, you're like, hey, bring it to us and we'll try to do it, is trying to do too much, right? Because there's so much need. So I guess if you hone in on your mission and vision, what does that look like going forward? Because it's got to be so hard to say no.
that's one of my downfalls. I don't know how
I
to
can
say
sense
no.
that about
Yeah. I get that critique from a lot of people. I guess that's why they come to me all the time. But if you look at like our original mission statement, I wrote it. When I wrote it, it said to meet the unmet needs. I made sure I put that sentence in there. So I wouldn't say that there's any limit on what I'm willing to do. I don't think, especially in the not-for-profit world, the worst thing you do is just concentrate on one focus. Is like putting all your eggs in one basket. I mean, yeah, sure. Like I tell my staff, we do well with, funding from the VA. What if the VA gets slashed? All right. We still have a need. So how do we keep making that need? That's why we try to do things to set up different revenue streams. Yeah. So if we lose a little funding here or there, we could still maintain our current level of care. So I guess when I take over these large buildings too, I'm always looking at, I only need a small section of it for what I have to do. What could I do with the rest of it? And so like with the the gym, yeah, it's great. We refurbish that gym. It's beautiful. Yes, we do open gym for the kids. Like when they're on winter break, we'll do it from noon to 5:30, but normally it's 3:30 to 5:30. But a lot of agency come to you, ICANN, House of Good Shepherd, UCP, like they'll bring their individuals over. But when we're not using it for kids, I rent that out. Yeah. We have, adult basketball leagues, adult soccer leagues, things like that. That helps pay to keep the youth program going. We have Wilson's Cops and Kids there, which is a great program, So I don't really put a limit on how far I'll go in the state of New York or outside the state of New York especially when it comes to veteran services. I'll go anywhere. And we have gotten calls from all over the country as far as California because they seen something on our website and asked for help, and we helped them. As far as, I'm, like you guys said, I'm lifelong resident of Utica, and I want to see Utica survive and be, prosperous. And, the future is in the youth. So that's why I think I invest so much time into the youth programs to make sure that we're building a better future for ourselves. And if anything speaks to that, it's the Coach Wilson's Cops and Kids program. Coach Wilson came to me when I first took over the YM. He decorated Vietnam veteran. He was a professional boxer. He lost his eye in Vietnam in an ambush. So when he came back from Vietnam, they wouldn't let him professionally box anymore because he couldn't pass his physical. But he still stayed in boxing for years. He actually was a sparring partner for some of the greats like George Foreman, Frazier. He'll tell you stories about him talking with Ali. It's like he has this great history, but all he wanted to do was help kids. Now he's in his mid to late 70s. A few years back, he fell. He damaged his only good eye. So now he's 100% blind. Wow. So nobody wanted to see this program end because it was such a great program. He did so much for the kids. So a couple of Utica police officers came over and said, we're going to run the program. The reason is when they were kids, they went through Coach's program, and now they're on the Utica Police Department. And now they run it. That's why it's called Wilson's Cops and Kids, because the police officers run it. And I think it's one of the greatest programs we have there because not only is it the youth of the area, and it's not just Utica. I mean, you could come from anywhere to use the program. But the ones that are in Utica, they're coming in, these kids are coming in from these neighborhoods that these officers are the same officers patrolling those areas. They're building that trust. Yeah. They're teaching these kids discipline. And that was always Coach Wilson's philosophy. It wasn't about boxing. He goes, boxing's not about punching. He goes, it's about discipline. That was his whole philosophy. And they have to bring their report cards in. They have to show that they're doing good in school. If not, we give them help with tutoring, things like that. And now you're going to continue to build that better future for us. So I think programs like that are great.
Well, and just that I was pulling up on my phone because I couldn't believe the amount of services that you do offer at the UCD. Location rentals, Safe Youth 315, Fox Suicide Prevention Program, which is huge. Supportive services for veteran families, the PFC Dwyer at Ease program, Wilson Cops and Kids, Community Fun and Advocacy, Better Together Center, Utica Royalties. So anybody that wants to look into any of these programs, how do they go about that?
The website's always a perfect tool.
Okay.
And they could contact us directly through the website.
All right.
And, send us any questions they want, set up a tour, anything, but the website, I always, in 2026, I think that's so important. Everybody could do, because you could do it from your phone, do it in your bed, whatever, So I always tell people go directly to our website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. I'm actually embarrassed to acknowledge that I had no idea you guys did this much.
Well, I couldn't believe it when I went through the programs. I just thought it was a veteran-driven program, and I guess that's really what sets you apart from other, veteran.
No, and that's why, we're again. I guess the two things we do the worst at is fundraising and marketing, because people I grew up with still don't know what I do. And I tell them.
I get that a lot too. Like, what do you do?
Right. Yeah. Or they say, like you said, oh, I didn't realize you guys had so many programs. So we're trying to do our best, and that's why shows like this are great for us to get the word out.
Yeah.
So we're trying to do more to let people know, and increase our social media presence, increase our presence in the community. But I think that's why it's great that you guys will have us on so we could spread the word more.
Absolutely. I mean, our mission when we started this was to shine a spotlight on amazing people doing amazing work here locally that most people wouldn't know about.
Exactly.
And I don't know if there's a better example.
And people that are driven to make improvement here, which leads me to my next question. You can tell Utica means everything to you. Mm-hmm. What do you see when you picture Utica 10 years from now, if it could be something that you wanted it to be?
One, I would like to see, a safer Utica, safer streets, a better accountability for a homeless population. Mm-hmm. I think just like any other city, public safety is always paramount. Mm-hmm. You could build the most beautiful buildings in the world, but if people don't feel safe going to them, they're not going to. Yeah. And you see that. I mean, look at what happened to Varick Street over the years. Yeah.
You can see it, Carousel Center, Carousel Mall to an extent. People are scared to go there.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's something we have to work on as a whole. And that's why I think it lies with the youth. If we're not getting to them at an early age and we're letting them fall into a life of crime, we're not going to build a better future. Mm-hmm. And then just and after that is just more private investment, more private investment for, the city as a whole. I mean, one of my, picture it on Genesee Street, just blocks from where we are, where Bowers has left us with vacant buildings that nobody could do anything with. I would love to develop those into something that could support the community as a whole. I think what we really lost track of in Utica when it came to development is we spent, $350 million on this beautiful new hospital we have. Everybody rushed to build the lofts, around it for the doctors and the nurses. Where's the workforce housing? There's thousands of people that work at that hospital, in the cafeteria, in the laundry, maintenance, whatever, housekeeping. We have so many vacant buildings around the downtown sector. We could have made that into workforce housing easily, a little bit below market rate, but not, to where it's unaffordable. Mm-hmm. And, we could support this huge endeavor we took in downtown and also beautify downtown by bringing the working families back into these vacant buildings, which would spawn other economic development, as we all know.
So if someone listening wants to get involved with you guys, what would be their first step?
The website, there's actually a form that says get involved.
Okay.
you tap it, it says get involved, you fill out, it says there's all things that we need volunteers with. Like one of the biggest things we always need volunteers is drivers.
Okay.
Because we do a lot of medical transports. Mm-hmm. So the DAV, they're limited to only taking to VA appointments. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of veterans, especially the ones that live with us, that have to go to dialysis, medical appointments, stuff. So we spend a lot of time transporting our veterans around, especially the elderly ones. So we always need help with drivers. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, what didn't we cover?
I mean, yeah.
Did we hit everything?
I think
there's a lot.
There's a lot. Yeah. It's hard, I guess, because like we said, people aren't fully aware of what we do, and there's a lot under our roofs, and I just like to get the word out. And And I welcome anybody. If anybody ever wants to come take a tour of the facilities, more than happy to give it to them.
Just my mind going all over the place. But do you work with local schools, like high schools, to get? There's so many kids that need volunteer hours. Like
so we get them from like the junior ROTC programs.
Yeah.
A lot of the confirmation classes come through.
Yep.
We got quite a few schools that they'll come in on like a class trip to do their volunteer hours, and it's great because we get like one of the biggest things that slows us down. We get so much. People donate so much, which is great. I'm not critical, but people donate everything.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
The stuff they don't want.
it takes days to go through it all. So usually, like when the schools come in, we have what we call the sorting room set up where they just go through boxes nonstop and separate everything. A lot of stuff, you know, we could use a lot, we can't. But like I said, we try to limit what goes in the landfill. We try to recycle everything. I'm a big advocate on recycling, and I could show you the money we make off of. I mean, our Clothes to Home program, we've already recycled well over 1 million pounds of clothing in the last couple of years.
That's awesome.
And it keeps it out of the landfill. It makes us money in the meantime.
Yeah, and everything about you, if there's a through line to this conversation, it's bettering the future.
Right.
Yeah.
And recycling goes right along with that.
So people, like, they'll clean out their houses. We'll get some appliances that are so old. I'll tell the guys, don't even plug that in. It's just going to spark and blow. I go, cut the cord off, recycle the cord, recycle the appliance.
Yeah.
You know, we recycle everything, and it is a source of revenue. It helps us. You know, when you're getting national grid bills that are bigger than people's yearly salaries down there, you know, you have to find some kind of funding stream to help that.
Yeah. Well, let's not go down that road. That's just real quick to stay on the youth, volunteering with the youth. I think there's so much power in that. You know, we have like key club organizations,
National
we got
Honor
National Honor
Societies,
Society
yeah.
kids. We get, but to have a 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old student being able to mentor, that's empowering for that student and teaches them leadership, gives them pride in the community. You know, and I think there's something there.
And a lot of our youth programs, they follow that cycle. Like the Utica Royalties, Wilson Cops and Kids, the older kids in the programs do take the younger ones under their wing and mentor them. And it is
Peer
great.
mentoring is huge.
It's huge.
Yeah,
and that's what we have, the peer-to-peer programs for our veterans. Because like you said, the mental health is huge. It's huge. Not just with veterans, but with everybody. You know, mental health is a huge thing that got overlooked for years because it had the bad stigma. It was always pushed aside. I'm sure you guys remember, like, growing up, you never heard anybody committing suicide. No, but you would hear, I remember my father going, yeah, he was out hunting, had a hunting accident, or the guy was cleaning his gun, it just went off. Yeah. And then, as a kid, you didn't know. Then I grew up, I'm like, how do you clean a loaded weapon? Because you had to protect the family. Like, nobody addressed that. So just imagine how many World War II vets probably took their own lives or drank themselves to death because of what they seen in Europe and, you know, the Pacific. No, but it was a stigma. You didn't. So we really have to draw that out. And the peer-to-peer program is perfect. So it's veterans working with other veterans, you know, because I tell everybody, you know, you could give me all the money in the world to build housing for the homeless. You're not going to solve the homeless problem. Right. All right. Homeless is not a first order effect unless, God forbid, you guys leave here, your house burns down or a tornado or whatever. You're not going to be homeless tomorrow. And even then you won't because, you know, you'll have the resources to go to a hotel or whatever, right? So we have to solve homelessness. You have to find what led to that homelessness in the first place. And homelessness is usually a third or fourth order effect. So our case managers do a great job getting through there. Our peers do a great job. What led to, you know, and mental health, probably number one, disruption of the family network. And then those two lead to the addiction, whether it's drugs, alcohol, whatever. Then loss of employment, you just start spiraling down. So it's really, homelessness is a third or fourth order effect. So we do a great job working with them, you know, whether they need to get into recovery services, and not just the veterans, but anybody that comes through our doors. You know, our case managers and peers are great advocates for them. You know, I can't tell you how many veterans we got into the VA recovery down in Bath, or, you know, in the Helio, or out in Syracuse, you know, and got them cleaned up and got them back in the housing. But just to build housing and throw somebody in there doesn't work either, because then they become isolated. And when you're isolated, your mental health deteriorates. You turn to substances that you shouldn't be taking. So, you know, we make sure our tenants get out. We do lots of field trips with them. We take them all over, and they're going down to the Classic Car Museum soon. They go every now and then we take them to like the Two Brothers Pinball. We have pair nights in our cafe where they come down, take them to hockey games, whatever, you name it. Because you got to get them out. You got to get that socialization in there, and that bolsters their mental health.
Yeah, break the cycle. It is. It's
You're willing to do the hard work. That's what's unique about this, right? Because we are a society that likes to...
Somebody else will do it.
Well, or we just sell, we do things that make us feel better on the surface. Well, I donated to that, right? Or on a big level, we'll sell the pill to make you feel better, but we never actually get to the problem of why you didn't feel good in the first place.
Correct.
That's the hard work.
Yeah.
Right? So kudos to you guys for doing that.
And yeah, it's masking, and a reason so many like military individuals, they're addicted to the painkillers because, the military is famous on masking the pain.
Makes you feel numb.
Your knee's shot. Well, we kind of need you, so here's some hydros.
Yeah.
They'll make you
So
feel.
you don't even realize you have any.
And then
And then you just
numb.
get worse and worse and worse, and it just it's a revolving cycle.
Vicious cycle. Yep.
Well, we're 40 minutes into this.
I know.
and we
I knew
could
we'd get there
keep
quick.
going, but we do end all these with rapid fire.
Okay.
We'll try our best to keep them rapid.
Sometimes we get a little long with it. It might
Sometimes
spark
does.
a
We'll see.
conversation.
You want to go first?
Sure. One word that describes Utica.
Central.
I don't picture you as a guy that sleeps much, but are you an early riser or a night owl?
Both.
That was my guess.
You don't sleep. An amazing Utica food spot that few people know about. Now, we all know that there's so many great, but this doesn't have to be your favorite, but like one that maybe somebody doesn't know about.
I think Joey's 307.
One of our favorites.
Yeah, that Matt Grabsky, he
And Michelle,
and Michelle.
Yeah, their food's
it's
great.
talk
And-
about tradition and feeling like home.
And then just that setting where you feel like you're in somebody's
And you
home.
leave there full.
Yeah, for sure.
I went there for the fish fry last week. The fish was huge.
I saw the picture. On social media. I'm like, we got to put that on our list to try. Yeah.
Leadership trait that every young person should develop.
Confidence.
Hardest lesson you learned in the military.
Keeping my mouth shut.
That's great.
You learned that?
Oh, when you're young and you say something you shouldn't to somebody higher rank, you learn quick.
One book that shaped your mindset.
Patent for business.
Okay. If you weren't running the UCD, what would you be doing?
Bored out of my mind.
Nothing.
Legacy in one sentence. How do you want to be remembered, Vinny?
As somebody that helped his community. That's all.
Well, you're certainly
Amazing.
doing it.
Yep.
Vincent, uncle, cousin, Vinny
Yeah.
Scalise. It's the Utica Center for Development. So much amazing work that you guys are doing. And I think we need to go visit them on St. Patrick's Day. Well, on the parade day.
We're not going to be here.
We're not going to be here. Well,
We're
shoot.
not going to be here on parade day. I know.
That's
I know.
right.
I'm so sorry.
I forgot about that. We're out of town.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, we're going to put in show notes how you guys can connect
But if you are
with
here,
them.
that's where you should go.
Yeah, it's a
for
good place
sure.
to start.
Yes.
So appreciate you, Vinny. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for all the work you're doing.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.